So last time we learned about the five phrases that we can use when we have to say we like something. Let's also learn about dislike them. How to say I dislike something. Now, obviously, saying I dislike this is one simple way of saying it. But why I'm giving you these phrases is you have to incorporate other kinds of vocabulary into your speaking. Just saying I like this and I don't like this, which is not enough. You have to learn different types. Now, again, you can say that, but in one speaking test, they might ask you several questions about your likes and dislikes. So, just repeating the same phrase, I like this and I like this for multiple questions, or I dislike would not be a good way to score much. Using more variety in your speech gives you more marks. So, instead of saying I dislike, you can say I'm not really a fan of. So, let's learn how to use these in our answers today. The meaning of all of these are I don't like something. The questions that ask about dislike can come in two forms. Sometimes they directly ask you about what you dislike. For an example, tell me about a TV show you dislike. A direct question can be asked. Or sometimes they ask an open ended question in which you can say I like or I dislike. For an example, do you like shopping? In which case you can say yes or no. Sometimes they ask directly about yes or no. Sometimes they make you choose. So it depends upon what you want to say. Before we move further and learn other lessons, let's first try this. I will ask you some questions and you can pick any one of these just like last time and say what you dislike. So, whatever the five phrases we learned last time and these five today, this is how you will open your answer. Now, again, not every single question will ask about what do you like and what do you dislike, but most questions will be like that, and that is how you can begin. But this one line is not enough. You have to explain the line. So, what to say after that? So far, what I told you is the first line that you say how much you like it or dislike it. The word in the bracket that I wrote earlier, that is how much. I am a fan of, I'm a big fan of. It shows how much of a fan you are. You are putting a stress into your own fandom in that case. Then the second thing you do after you say that, like when you say, I'm a big fan of football or I'm a big fan of horror movies, whatever you choose, what to say after that? You have to explain the answer, which I think is a very difficult thing to do, to give a reason. Why I say it is difficult is reason is not simply a generic statement. For an example, if they ask you about a singer, your favorite singer, and you said, I like Ed Sheeran or whoever your favorite singer is, because the song is nice, that would not be a reason. Because think, I like Ed Sheeran because the song is nice. I like Kishore Kumar because the song is nice. I like Freddie Mercury because the song is nice. I like Taylor Swift because the song is nice. That reason, because the song is nice, is not a reason at all. It's just a generic statement. Or about food. I like pizza because it is tasty. I like burger because it is tasty. I like momo because it is. These are not reasons unless you say something specific to that particular thing. For an example, I like pizza because when we bake the cheese and how gooey it gets, how it melts in our mouth with all the toppings of mozzarella, I don't know, something that is very specific to that particular thing. Or I like Kishore Kumar because the romantic songs he sang in the 70s were very pleasing, and the yodeling he did in his music was very, I don't know, if you explain in that way, that is very specific to that particular thing, then give a reason like that, which I know is difficult. One thing is, if we have studied about food, talking about food will be easy. If we know technical things about movies, you can talk about movies or about music as well. But common people like us who may not have studied about music or movies, to give a actual reason, why do we like this movie? We will just say because the acting was nice. Only a movie student would maybe say like the cinematography, the angle from which it was shot, the music, and think technical things are difficult for us to think of. In that case, if you cannot think of a reason, give an example. An example is easier to think of. For an example, uh, I like pizza. For an example, last time I went to Pizza Fire restaurant and ordered myself meat lovers pizza, which was very tasty. Just an example. Or I like pizza. Yesterday in my home, we ordered pizza from Domino's and it was very tasty. Or if it is about a singer, I like Ed Sheeran. The song "Shape of You" is one of my favorite songs. Just you can give an example in that way. Or every morning I listen to Ed Sheeran songs. Or in my phone there are 10 Ed Sheeran songs. In that way, you can always give an example which is easier to think of. So say the answer and give an example, or you can give a technical reason if the reason is very specific to the question. For an example again, do you know I have done this for many times in the class. Whenever I ask a question like, tell me about your favorite flower, most people say rose, because rose is the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about flower. I am a big fan of rose. Why? Because the scent is nice. Everybody says the same thing. Nobody says a different answer. And that kind of answer would not be a very good answer, a very common answer, because it is very easy to think, unless it is very specific. I like rose because the layers of the petals that encircle the central. I don't like rose myself, so I would not know. But if you can give a specific reason to that particular thing, it will be a very good thing. Or just give an example. I like rose. In my garden, there are two rose plants. One is white in color and one is red in color. Just give an example in that way. So you do that. And if you dislike, only for dislike, there is a third step. This is only for dislike. Say what you prefer instead of that. Like if you don't like it, what else do you like? Earlier, when I asked you a subject that you don't like, you said mathematics. If you don't like mathematics, then what do you like? Maybe you like computer, maybe you like social studies, maybe you liked English, something else. So say what you prefer instead of that. If the question is a food that you don't like, and when you say thukpa, I don't like thukpa, what do you like then? I like salad. I like burger. Whatever else you like, you mention that as well. So state a preference in that way. And how to state the preference? There are some phrases for that. Let me write those now. You can write it under number three. I am writing here above. And this is not a new thing, it's just for number three. Stating preferences. Number one. So this structure, I prefer this thing to that thing. And we have to use nouns in this case. Let me give an example of what I am talking about. Let's say you are asked a question. Do you drink tea? In this question, the word tea is the noun here. Now there are two possible answers. You can say yes, you can say no. If you say yes, you can say I'm a big fan of tea. Every day I drink 3 cups of tea. Or I don't go out of my home in the morning unless I have drunk a cup of chai. Or something very specific about your life. I like tea because the tannins, now a reason for that, because the tannins in tea make me fresh in the morning, and if I don't drink it, I cannot do my work properly. You explain your answer. You can say, no, I don't drink tea as well. If you don't drink tea, you would say, I am not a fan of tea because tea gives me gas in the stomach, or I don't like the bitter taste of tea, or something, whatever the reason there is, or I'm so lazy, I don't like making tea for myself, whatever the reason is. So you, at the last of your answer, you add one more line. You say, I prefer. So if you don't like tea, then what else do you like? Let's say hot lemon to tea. You can say, I like orange juice, coffee, whatever else you like, or just milk, soda, cold drinks. So if you don't like what they are telling you, give a reason for it and then add one line at the end. So a dislike answer would be slightly longer than a like answer. You'll add one last line like this. So that's one way of answering. Another way of answering, you can use a verb as well. And when you use a verb, you have to use an ing verb like going, coming, words like those. You cannot use the root verb. You have to use the present participle verb with ing ending. Let me write one example question. Let's say they asked you, do you dance? In this question, the word dance is the verb. Again, you can say yes. You can say, I'm very keen on dancing. Whenever there is a dance party, I'm the first person on the dance floor. Or I dance so gracefully, people compliment me how good I am dancing. Or I have taken dancing lessons, so I know how to dance Zumba very well. Or I have been part of different dancing competitions and also have won many of them. Whatever the truth is, say that. If you like dancing, if you don't like dancing, you would say I am not keen on dancing because I my movements are so awkward. People make fun of me when I dance, or I'm very shy in front of people, so I don't dance whenever I'm with other people. I only dance alone, or I don't like it. My feet start hurting when I dance. I don't dance. Whatever the thing is you do, if you don't like dancing, then you have to add one last thing at the end. I prefer. So if you don't like dancing, what else do you like? Let's say I prefer singing over dancing. So you should add that line at the end. Whatever else you like. Having said that, don't get confused that this is the only line you would say. You would say, I don't like it, you will give a reason, and after that, you will end with this line. There's one more as well. You have to, first of all, you have to say, do you dance? I am not keen on dancing because you have to give a reason. And after that, you have to say that line at the end. You don't have to dance. You can say, instead, I prefer, you can say that, but you can just say this line as well. I prefer this over dancing. I prefer clapping when people dance over dancing myself. I prefer watching dancing videos on TikTok over dancing. whatever the truth is. Again, I'm not saying make it up, just whatever is the truth, say that. Just one more, number three. And in this format, you have to use the root verb. I would rather, I would rather do this than do that. Again, let's say the question is, uh, do you, let's say, watch TV? The word watch is the verb there. You can say, I'm really into television. Every night before going to bed, I watch movies on TV, or I watch Netflix on my television, or I watch sports on television, or I like Indian Idol, so that is what I watch on television. Whatever is the truth, you talk about that. If you don't, you would say, I'm not into television because none of the shows that come on TV are good for me, or I don't have a TV in my home, or whatever the reason is. I don't have cable, so whatever. I would rather, let's say, use, or let's say, play games than watch TV. So what's that? So you can see I have written several phrases on the board so far. You can use them in your own speaking. Now, I don't mean this is the only way of answering. You can answer in a different way as well. But as a starting point, when we are not sure what to say, you can just learn this way of answering. And most questions can be answered in this way, in two steps or three steps, based on this thing that we have learned. And I know it is not the ideal way of doing it, but many people tell me in the beginning of speaking practice, they write things down. So, whatever questions you see in your book or you find elsewhere, you can first of all try writing the answers down. Like, imagine what can they ask you? They can ask you about clothes, food, traveling, shopping, TV, entertainment, things like those. So, imagine they ask you, do you like movies? Now, to come up with a response would be difficult on the fly. So, you can first of all practice writing. I am a big fan of movies. Follow the format because uh, because it's very difficult. So, for example, last month I went to the theater and watched this movie. You can name a movie in that. It was a very good movie. You can always go about in that way. So, let's practice this now. I will ask you some questions, and based on that, I want you to give a detailed answer now, not just I like or dislike.